good internet. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. Guys, I'm doing stand-up. I am coming to a town near you in the next few months. I'm going to be in Vegas September 10th and 11th with the comedians of The Compound. We'll be doing 4 shows at the Comedy Works Hotel. Not the Comedy Works Hotel, the Comedy Works Club in the Plaza Hotel. And then I'm heading to Texas doing 4 shows at Hyenas in Dallas September 17th and 18th. And then back to Jersey, headlining, actually doing a whole show with the comedians of The Compound, October 16th, the Blue Claws Stadium in Lakewood, New Jersey. And then, oh my God, I'm going to California. So excited to see what's left of that beautiful state. I'm going to be there October 22nd and 23rd doing 4 shows out at the Broadway Comedy Club West in Santa Monica with Sam Tripoli and Bridget Fetisi. And then I'll be headlining Tiff's and Morris Plains November 6th. Wow. Already have dates through November. So my little declaration of not performing anywhere that's going to mandate vaccines has been going okay so far. I've been managing. I have been losing too much work, really, which is great. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. Without them, we would be nowhere. We wouldn't be here. Cushy Dreams, KUSHY dreams.com. They are my go-to for all things CBD. If you're sick of vapes, if you're sick of gummies, if you would like a kind of a natural solution to deal with your anxiety like I did, check out cushydreams.com. It's grown right here in the USA. High quality CBD, bud, in these tin cans here and in pre-rolls. They come in these lovely little 5-packs, very portable. Take them with you. Different indica sativa blends like Dream, Hustle, Energy, Create, Relax. Whatever you want to do with your day, Cushy Dreams has your back. Woo! I just smelled a whiff of it when I opened it up. Looks, smells, feels just like high quality marijuana, but you're not going to get high. There's like 0.03% THC in these products. You're just going to get all the benefits of CBD without getting high. Go to cushydreams.com. That's KUSHY dreams.com and use promo code CMP at the checkout to get 20% off your order. I'm so excited to have this guy back on the program. He is one of my absolute favorite people. He's one of my internet daddies. He is the author of Democrat to Deplorable. He is the host of his own YouTube show. He's the founder of the Liminal Order. So happy to have him back here. Jack Murphy.
Chrissy, I'm back. I was about ready to hit send on the cushy, and then you're like, you're not going to get high. I was like,
oh.
Just kidding. I ordered 10 packages.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It helps me with my anxiety. And I was an Adderall kid way back when, not kid, young adult. And then I realized I didn't want to be dependent on something that costs so much, and that made me a little kooky. So
a lot of bit kooky. Happy to get that CBD. I'll get some cushy,
guys.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. You've been a regular. I think you're becoming a regular now on TimCast.
You know, I was Tim's very first guest on TimCast IRL. Yep, number 1 guest, first ever. It was just me and Tim in his house outside of Philadelphia. I think it was back in the end of 2019. And I was number 1. And the first thing I did when I got to the show, I was like, Tim, when are you gonna go MAGA, baby? When?
He was not, was nope. He even a little bit sniffing
was,
on Trump?
You know, he was milk toasting around as usual. But I spent that whole day just, giving him, saying, come on, man, it's warm over here. The water's nice. Come on. And in the comments, everybody was saying, hey, this is what we've all been saying to Tim for the last year. Come on, Tim.
Do you remember when that first appearance was?
It was fall of 2019. And then I did another one during COVID, like the intense COVID scene. And then we just started doing regularly after he moved away from Philadelphia. And we did every other week there for a while. And I had White Boy Summer to tend to, so I did that. And now I'm back, and starting September 1st and every 14 days thereafter, I will be at TimCast IRL. So come check it out.
Wow, nice. Yeah. So he went from Trump curious to full on.
Full on.
Full on.
Full on. It was good. It's been, I mean, look, at this point in time, it's like there's nothing left to hang on to. If you got a thinking brain and you're halfway cool and you want to see something good for the future of America, there's just no way you can just be like, yo, woke up everything. Woke it all up. Let's go. That's what we're seeing today in Afghanistan. That's what we're seeing all over the place. So there's nothing, there's no other place.
How do you keep your spirits up? Like, I don't know. I know I want to talk about Australia, and I get confusing information about Australia because some folks will say the people here love this authoritarian takeover. They love having people govern them. They are govern me harder daddy types. They love being told what to do. They are fine with being able, oh my God, I get to leave my house an hour a day now, 2 hours a day now. And then I have a guy who does my clips and graphics over in Australia, and he's like, this is horrible. Like, thank God I can focus on work because I would be depressed, and this is bad. This is
it would be
hopeless.
Ironic for a nation founded by ex-cons, criminals, debtors, and thieves and such to be all in for the authoritarian vibe. That's not what I would have assumed. But yeah, I mean, look, I haven't been to Australia. I don't know too many Australians, but I do read the news reports. And from what I can see, they see things like, hey, guys, we have now allowed you new freedoms. You can go outside for 2 hours in a day. And then there's like kids hanging out at the beach getting arrested, and they're like tracking. They like, we saw this man in the elevator. If you see him anywhere, we're going to arrest him. Tell us. And I was reading the other day too that they're building 1,000-bed quarantine camp.
Yes. They just announced it.
1,000 beds. And the same woman, some leader in Australia, I don't remember who it was, who was announcing this 1,000-bed quarantine camp.
The horrible, like, brunette.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to do a character of her. I was like, I got to like just draw my eyebrows on with a Sharpie and be like, look, like we want to keep you safe. We're not calling them camps.
Just get on this train here, and we will take you to our camp in the desert.
And not gulags.
In the same day, okay, she's tweeting about how excited she is that they're going to open up this 1,000-bed facility, which is stimulating the economy, right? So they're like leveraging COVID, quarantine, and scariness in order to boost the economy. That's saying something. Right afterwards, she posts like their daily COVID stats, and it was literally 2 new cases that day. Not hospitalizations, not deaths, not two cases. So I don't know. I think what it is, it's like the Commonwealth countries, right? You get England, you got Canada, you got Australia, and others, New Zealand. They are all in on this, right? They, like in Canada, they've been doing the lockdowns and the quarantines and the vax requirements for air flight and train travel now. And in England, you don't even really have free speech. You got guys going to jail for doing the Heil Hitler joke with his dog and whatever.
Oh,
right? You remember
that guy? Yeah,
that was real. Yeah. That was real. And so they're like 10 years or 5 years maybe ahead of us in this woke insanity. But it all comes down to the same basic principle, which is that like through science and technology and technocracy and institutions, we can make everything in this world perfect. We can have zero COVID, guys. Zero COVID. All you have to do is stay home, don't work, wear a mask, don't see your family, don't hug your grandma, don't go to weddings, take 25 vaccines, get the re-up every 6 months. 4 months, 3 months. And so they're chasing this impossible zero. And it is just part of the whole progressive mindset, which is that through science, through technology, and through modernity, and through the future, we can fix everything. We can solve every problem. Except human nature hasn't changed like that. We're all humans still. There's still good and evil in all of us and good and evil everywhere. You will never get to zero. And in the effort of trying to get to zero, evil, zero, bad, zero, whatever, in your wake is tyranny.
There's no way. There's no like amount of obeying and behaving perfectly that's gonna result in freedom again. And even with like Australia, it's like they're doling out your freedoms like teaspoon by teaspoon. You're supposed to like, oh wow, look, we get to do this. And I was like, you listen to progressives and they're like, they're obsessed with listen to people smarter than you, listen to the science. It's almost like, to me, it sounds like, okay, that takes a weight off your individuality, using your own common sense, using your own brain. Because if you just obey and they have like, they're snotty about it. They're arrogant about it and condescending about it. Well, we have to listen to the science. We have to, it's the New York Times, it's the Washington Post, and it's like
the head of the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
It's the head of the CDC. It's this esteemed epidemiologist from the University of Harvard. Yeah. You know what? That doesn't do anything for me at all anymore. I remember when I was a little kid or growing up, I thought that when I got out into the professional workplace, everybody was going to be so smart and so focused.
Like you were an adult
dedicated.
now.
And I remember looking around at all my high school, colleagues and fellow students and be like, you guys are all, can I swear on this one?
Yes.
You guys are all fucking idiots. And I can't wait to just grow out of this field of fucking idiots and just land in the universe of mature, responsible, educated adults that actually know what's going on in this world. And I tell you what, man, I have yet to find that room. I have yet to find that room where I walk into the room and I'm like, oh, here are where the adults are. Here are where the people are who know what's going on. And I'm 45 now, so I've been through a lot. I've had a lot of different careers, and I've been in finance and real estate and education and media. And I can tell you, when you get to the highest level of each one of those, they're all still fucking idiots everywhere. And one last little bit on this. I interviewed yesterday Joshua Steinman. He was a senior advisor to the president on the National Security Council. And he told me the same exact thing. You think you're going to get to the National Security Council and the White House, and everybody there is going to be brilliant and a genius and dedicated and hardworking and focused on the mission and man enough to go talk to people face to face and make shit happen? Nope. Even at the highest levels of government, at the biggest and greatest nation that ever was, it's still just a bunch of fucking idiots up there.
Who don't necessarily know what they're doing all the time.
No.
But they do such a good job to make regular people feel like you're an idiot, like you don't know, you're not a scientist. Like how many memes or how many posts did we all see on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere? Like, oh, all of a sudden your friend is a infectious disease expert. You're not an epidemiologist. I can't even pronounce it. Epidemiologist.
Yes, no, it's whack. It's whack. There was this belief in experts, right? So in the old days, things were simpler, right? You had mostly farmers, warriors, priests. That's what you had mostly, right? And people figured out how to farm. Cycles are slow. It's kind of universal. It's unique to your individual circumstances and whatnot, but you could figure it out. You could figure out how to exist in the world. And then there were things that got more complicated. And then there were people who didn't have to farm and didn't have to be warriors, and they became educated and they figured some things out for us. And you know what? They probably did a good job. But now everything is so complicated and so complex that there's absolutely not a single person around, period, that knows exactly what's going on or what to do. And everybody on the ground, all of us regular folks who just read the news and whatever, we're all bewildered with and overwhelmed with information. The experts are too. And the system is so complicated and so complex that there's no possible way to be like, this is the desired outcome that I want. We do it. It's too big. And so what's needed now is a nimbleness, an ability to assess the situation, to take a step, see what happens, react, reassess, and then take another step. But that involves humility. That involves being able to say, I don't really know what's going on here, but I have kind of an idea. Let's try this thing. And if it doesn't work, then we try something else. The hubris of these people is that they're God and that they can fix everything and solve it down to zero. And if it doesn't work, it just means they need to do more of what they're doing rather than be like, well, fuck, it's complicated. I told you it was complicated. And then start over. They just don't have the humility for that.
And who has the most to gain by keeping this chaos going? Who is financially to benefit? I don't know. Maybe it's like being cynical, but it feels like, would you say things have always been this corrupt, or just we can see it more so now?
I think that the leverage of corruption is far greater than it was in the past. There was corruption. Of course there's corruption. There's humans, there's corruption. But the decision making of a local guy in a farming community means if he's corrupt and he makes a bad decision and everybody like loses their crop for the year or whatever, then maybe that little village dies. Okay? Sad. But because of the way our society is built today, the corruption can be so great and so pervasive that a consequence could be not just that one little village dies, but the whole fucking country does. And this is what complex system scientists like my friend Joe Norman I've had on the show a few times, and this is why they want to have things like isolated. You want local networks, local decision making, local corruption, right? Like it localizes corruption too. So you have a failure, but you aren't ruined. And right now our system is set up for ruin. It's not set up for small little failures that we can learn from. It's actually set up so that when we do make the big mistake, it's the big mistake that's going to break everything.
But it seems like everything about the last year and a half has been destroy the middle class, destroy the small businesses, rely on Walmart, Amazon. So, well, what if they fail? Then the failure is even greater. And
That's right. You identified it right there. It's centralization, and then making that universal. And when you do that, then you create single concentrated points of failure. And what we're seeing right now, I believe, are just tremors. They're like, I don't live in California, so I don't know what it's like, or earthquake land. But I guess there's like rumblings maybe before like a really big one. These are just little rumblings, little tremors.
Indigestion.
Just little guys, little burps like I just had from the wine.
From the rosé.
I said wine on purpose.
Look what I'm drinking.
Rosé is hydrate. It's hydrating. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. So these are little tremors. There's like tectonic plates. They're like lined up like this, and we just had like a. But soon enough, it's just gonna be a. And I think the old saying is that like change happens slowly and then all at once. I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a little bit of an acceleration. Today in Afghanistan was an absolute tragedy and disaster. Last I looked, something like 13 or 14 Americans dead, 50, 60, 100 people, injured overall. And anybody that had been paying attention to what was going on there would have predicted it. In fact, there were a number of pundits, John Robb in particular, who I follow and I promote on my Twitter feed, which is at Jack Murphy Live on Twitter, by the way. He said, look, they're going to try to take siege there in the Afghanistan airport, and they're going to do that by setting off bombs and killing people. And guess what they did? So some of these things are just obvious that are coming. And today was a national tragedy. There's no question about it. A bunch of people died.
Wouldn't this be then obvious to the administration? Like, it's so easy for people to be like, why wouldn't you get the troops out first? And then you hear people say it, and you're like, of course. Well, there must have been a reason.
They're dumb. I think they're dumb. They're dumb. I think that's partially it. They're dumb, and they move too slowly. Well, there's a few parts to it. The first thing is they need to be able to observe reality in an accurate way that actually reflects reality. And because they're so wokeified and fucking social justice warriored and CRT'd up and worrying about gays and trannies in the military, and I love gay people and trannies, they're human beings, so I love them. But like the focus of the military doesn't have to be, we need more. This is what we need to do. We need to worry about white rage, and we need to worry about white racism. And we don't need the president saying that the number one security threat that we face in the entire world is white supremacy. That's what they're focused on. So their skill of even just observing the world is fucked.
Their horse blinders are on everybody. It's
right.
Like
they're looking at the wrong things. And so their ability to observe, reorient to the circumstances, make a decision, and take action are totally fucked. Totally fucked. Because they're just looking at the wrong thing. And then the enemies and all the bad guys and everyone that hates us, and even the people that like us but aren't like totally on board with us, they're all doing something else. And we are just still like Why aren't there more trannies on the front line?
Yeah.
That will just make everything
we
better.
need them for the pamphlets.
Right, exactly. So their ability to perceive reality is broken. Therefore, every step that they take after that is going to be a wrong one.
And they're so insulated that they're probably surrounded by yes people because.
Well, the entire left apparatus and the entire uniparty apparatus and every institution, university, media company, arts institution, medical association, etc., so forth, and you name it, education, all of them, they're all fucked, they're all captured, they're all broken, and they're all looking at the wrong thing. And so whenever they take action, it's going to cause disaster around them. And this is the result of 50 to 60 years worth of, honest to God, communist, Marxist, feminist ideology working its way from the ground up, from just some radicals in the 60s, and then some academic kids, and then some teachers, and then the administration of the university, and then the president of the university, and then entry level at the corporations, and then mid-management, and then HR at the corporations, and then CEOs of the corporations, and staffers on the Hill, and then finally elected representatives, and finally the fucking president of the United States. It's been 50 or 60 years to get to the point where Joe Biden, in his first address of Congress, which was like months and months later than most people's, his first address to Congress, he says, without any doubt, perfectly clear, white supremacy is the number one security threat that we face in America. And that, to me, is a sign, on top of the Kavanaugh hearings in 2018, where they use the language of radical feminism, believe all survivors, et cetera, rape culture, blah, blah, blah. They use that language that every fucking institution, right? Every fucking institution is totally captured, and their attention is on something else it shouldn't be. Therefore, every decision they make is going to clash against the reality of reality, to coin a phrase. And fucking disaster will ensue. So that's where we are. Do I have any hope about that? Not really.
Not really. It seems what we can do. Right. I mean, it's an upsetting, depressing, distressing time. Our institutions are failing us left and right. It used to be you would enter the military because that would give you a leg up in many areas of life. It would help you get a house, benefits for the rest of your life.
Education, teach you about American patriotism, teach you about being disciplined and focused and on a team and courageous and honorable and acting with virtue. Yeah, that shit is gone. That shit is gone. It's gone. Everything that we thought about America is gone. It's all gone. It lives on in Americans. Okay. You and me and the people that we know and the friends that we have and our family and our communities, if you're lucky, it lives on there. The spirit of the founders, of the original intent of the country lives on. But the institutions which rule us have abandoned America a long time ago.
Have abandoned the values, and you can see that in the actions, which are out of touch with, like you said, real reality, and then you have disasters.
Real reality. Yeah, it's to the point where in Australia, they're like, guess what? We've given you some freedoms. What the fuck? The government doesn't give me freedom. Okay? The Constitution exists to limit the behavior of the government, not to limit my behavior.
Has Australia and I guess Canada do you feel like they've always a little bit been this way, or is this a hallmark, CCP takeover on a high level?
I know a lot of shit about a lot of things, and I can definitely claim expert status on a lot. On Australian history and politics, I can't. So I don't really know. So I can just observe from the outside and just see what the government is doing, and I can translate that into what I see worldwide. Do I believe it is something in the blood or in the air there? I don't know. I really don't know why it is that they're a little bit ahead of us. I can tell you why one thing is happening. Have you seen that video of the doctors and the police separating a man from his daughter?
That was it was just
like a week ago or something.
Huh. Maybe it's a different one.
and they
Yes, I
dragged
did
the
see
daughter
that.
away from the dad. The dad is fighting and screaming. The daughter is fighting and screaming. They obviously don't want to be separated. But guess what they don't have in Australia that we have here? Guess what they don't have in England that we have here? We got pew-pews everywhere, baby. We have guns.
That looks like what, that they were going to jab the daughter?
I really don't know anything more than the context, but I don't need to know anything more than what I saw. Unless the guy was a serial killer and they were arresting him, but it didn't look like it because they had medical professional there.
And they would have been more on him than on
There would have been a fucking SWAT team with machine guns and shit. Instead, it was just brutes and thugs and doctors in masks and gowns and guys with billy sticks separating a man from his daughter. We did not create the government that we have here in the United States. I don't know about there in Australia, but we did not create the government that we have here in the United States to set up a circumstance in which the government would rip a screaming child out of the hands of a citizen.
Yeah. How is that okay?
It's not okay. And the fact that the people of Australia haven't risen up against this says either they're docile, they're confused, they're drugged, they're disarmed. I don't know what it is.
Even France is out in the streets.
Well, they love protests up there in France. They love protests up there, but they should, and they should be. I'm thinking about this vax passport shit. So I too travel a lot for work. I have events planned in New York City. I'm coming up there to be on your show live.
Yes, September 27th. I think you'll be on the.
I'm going to be in New York that whole weekend, and I'm supposed to have a private dinner for my LO Liminal Order guys.
Ooh. In
New York City, in Manhattan.
And Let me guess, steak.
And then the next day, we're going to have a brunch open for everybody. But I do not want to give my fucking money to New York City. One, A, I'm not vaccinated. I don't plan to be, and I'm not bringing a vax card. Two, I don't know about committing like 30 felonies or 50 felonies to have everybody who comes to the thing, give them a fake card or whatever. I don't know about that. And three, I don't want to give New York City my tax dollars.
Yeah.
So I have decided that we're not going to do it in New York City now. We're going to do it in Jersey City.
Okay, that's great. And that's very close to get to from New York City. Like you can hop on the path, train, no big deal.
But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, my fiance, she's traveling right now. She just sent me another picture. We've been traveling all summer, everywhere, all across the country, West Coast, East Coast, Middle America, small town, big city, everything. And we have seen everywhere we go, we've seen help wanted. Help us. We have no employees. I went to a fucking Bob Evans. I like eggs and bacon. What can I say? I went to Bob Evans, and there was one waitress for the whole fucking restaurant. And she's like, I just started 2 weeks ago, too.
Wow.
And I'm working a double. And there's huge signs on the door. Please, we need people.
Yeah. I always go to the Golden Corral. They've got 2 waitresses there. I was at the Golden Corral on Father's Day. Possibly one of the saddest sights. I tipped her really well.
Good. So I got another message from my fiance. She's traveling right now. She just sent me a picture on the sign of the window, handwritten $100 bonus for even putting in an application. So I think about this. I think businesses can't find anybody to work right now because we're paying those people to stay home. And now you can't go or do anything in New York City unless you got a vaccine passport. What is going to happen when you pay people to stay at home? You prevent the rest of the people from actually working. What is going to happen to our businesses? What's going to happen to the fabric of our cities? Like, I don't see how this one plays out. Well. Something has to give. Something has to give there.
And what happens when the COVID money runs out, or whenever they said they're going to stop giving it out next month?
COVID money will never run out. COVID money will never run out.
They'll always have something.
Burr, they're gonna make that money printer go burr, and then they've already started doing it. So they've already started transitioning us away from COVID money. They just now, I got my second or third check in the mail just the other day, my like child support check or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is. I'm just getting checks from the Treasury because I have kids.
Oh, so it's like not COVID money. Maybe they're called like variant bucks.
Yeah, Delta bucks.
Bucks.
The Delta bucks are coming. No, it's all in place of the UBI that they want to lay out. And, there's pros and cons to that for sure. But what we're seeing are the cons immediately.
People are UBI? Getting
a universal basic income where everybody gets paid like $2,000 a month.
Boy.
And then you get to do whatever you want after that. But we're already seeing the damage, right? We're already seeing the fact that businesses can't hire. And it's not necessarily that they're sending enough money that someone can live on. But they're sending enough money so that someone who's married to somebody else and she only needs to work to make a few extra $100 a month. And when you work, you have to pay for childcare. So you're only netting like $600 or $800 a month. If they get $600 or $800 a month, then she's not going to take that part-time job.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's happening. That's happening all over the country. And I think that they're going to just find other ways to give us money so that people don't have to work. Now, I saw recently a study that showed for the first time ever in history, a majority of Americans did not pay income tax.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that was an option. I've been dumb paying rent and tax this whole time.
So a minority of people now, the income tax that they're taking from a minority of people are what's fueling the Treasury, in addition to all the debt that they're issuing and all the money that they're printing. So you've got money printing for inflation, debasing the dollar, and you got a small group of people working to pay the rest of the taxes that are going to handouts to keep people at home so that no one can work in the restaurants that the people with money want to go to. And now with the vaccine thing, they're going to be like, and by the way, all y'all got to go home too. Because like if you're not allowed to go into a restaurant without a vaccine, I'm assuming you're not allowed to work there or own a restaurant or be there without one either.
I think in New York City, I've been reading like there's loopholes. Like you can technically do takeout. Like you can go in and out. It's if you're going to sit down, then you have to get it. Like I know even for me, it says if you're a performer or if you're like a driver or FedEx or dropping something off, you don't have to get it. Like if you're in and out or if you're performing in a venue, you don't have to.
Right.
So I would never put people through that.
If you're somebody who goes to a lot of different places and interacts with a lot of different people, you don't have to be the one with the vaccine.
Much time. You can get out of there in 15 minutes before it can catch you.
If you just hold your breath like you're going through a fucking tunnel or driving by a cemetery. You just hold your breath the whole time.
Right.
I was in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, and everywhere all throughout Nevada, maybe just in Clark County, at least just in Clark County, there were signs everywhere. No fucking mask, or fucking mask. I didn't wear one. I didn't wear one the whole time. But I noticed that the performers on stage didn't have them. Like, what the fuck is that? They're sitting in front of the stage, just singing and spitting and all this shit all over the crowd there. So what I'm pointing out here is the logical inconsistencies of everything that's happening is a sign that no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, and how many legitimate articles and videos have we all seen about, certain things not working? Well, yeah, masks. It's just.
Oh, right. Protect the YouTube channel.
Protect it.
There are things that don't help against the rain, right? Like my umbrella is not going to help me against the rain. I'm going to get kind of wet. I'm still going to get you kind of wet.
You have a very specific kind of umbrella.
Right, but I have to have this umbrella. Maybe I have to have 2 of them or even 3 or get a new umbrella every 6 months.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to get everybody wet around me, and I'm still going to get soaking wet. So what is the fucking point of all these umbrellas is what I'm getting at.
Right. What I got for the plane when I go to travel to do some shows, I got very sparkly, different umbrellas in different colors.
Oh, nice.
That are like, yes, there's holes in them, but they're sparkly and pretty, and you can't really tell.
Oh, brilliant.
And for me, they keep out enough rain for me. Maybe not for other people.
I love that idea.
They're beautiful.
The only time I have not been able to just, powerfully reject mask mandates, umbrella mandates, is on that goddamn plane.
The plane, yeah. That's where you got
And on my last flight a few days ago, the guy got on loudspeaker and he's like, I just want to reiterate that you can only pull your mask down in between bites and sips. Not for the duration that it takes to drink your drink.
Oh my God.
But only in between bites and sips.
Imagine having to announce that. You're like, I hate
myself.
No,
this guy was fucking gleeful about it.
He should have been a preschool teacher. If you enjoy making those kind of announcements, it's like you should have been a babysitter.
That guy, if I had to describe my vision of what that guy's sock drawer looked like, each pair of socks was neatly rolled in these little balls, and they're stacked up by color and by what day of the week. Yeah, and what day of the week he usually wears them, etc. That's what kind of guy this guy was. Okay.
And terrible in bed, probably.
That, I just have no way of speculating on those things with men, Chrissy. You can smell that out. I just can't. I think about his socks. I'm like, this fucking guy's sock drawer's got to be neat as fuck.
Yeah. I saw there was a guy who had one mask up on his nose and one mask down here, and then he was able to like open his
Oh,
mouth in
that's not a bad.
between.
Can you imagine me with a mask? It's like this,
Yeah.
and then the beard, and then you just go.
Yeah, you need a mask just covering your
It's
beard,
awful.
like a
It's
beard
awful.
diaper.
Yes. Well, it's basically just gonna be like a loose rag that just like hangs.
Right. You need like one of those bandana looking things.
You know, when I was a kid, Chrissy, if you wore a bandana into a mask, you got fucking, if you wore a bandana into a bank, you got fucking shot. Now they require it. The world's gone mad.
Everything's upside down. Patty B, it's 27th of August here in Sydney, aka Gulag 13. My
Indeed.
birthday. No better gift than having Jacked to the Max Murphy, hosted by the lovely Chrissie Mayr. Have $10 dues.
Now,
Thanks,
are those
Patty
Australian dollars?
Yeah, are these dollars just, weaker than the no, I'm just kidding.
Patty B, thank
much.
you so much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Patty.
it. Happy to be here.
Jeez,
Happy to be here.
Patty, how are
talking to you in the future.
Yeah. I hope you're like holding up across there, down there. Holy cow. Yeah, I think I missed another super chat. Oh, Patty B again.
There we go.
Forget legal rights. Aussie freedoms are based on vicious contempt for anyone who thinks they're above us. When Aussies sense the politicians are screwing this up, the mood will flip hard. JM, can I email you the lowdown?
You certainly can. Jack at jackmurphylive.com. There you go. I just sent it out. Send me your dick pics. There we go.
Yeah. See, I feel like we have an underutilized resource here. Oh, wait, Matthew Hammond. Congrats on Jack sealing the deal with his girl. How did Jack propose? Does he have any recommendations for, oh, God, for how Frank should do it? Frank's my boyfriend, and Matthew Hammond loves to throw 99 cents towards a ring fund.
That was $5 he just put in there.
Yeah. No.
And those are American dollars, as far as I know, Matthew Hammond. Maybe he's Canadian. I don't know. Matthew Hammond, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I did propose to my longtime girlfriend, 7 years. We were together before I proposed. And I'll tell you why I proposed in the first place. Of course, I love her. She had been with me through ups and downs. She'd been with me in my old career. She was with me through the doxing. She was with me through fucking emptying the bank accounts and scrimping and saving and the whole thing. She was with me through all of it. And now she's been with me on the ups, and she has been down 100% every single step of the way. And I saw in her somebody that I wanted to build a future with, and somebody that I wanted to commit to in the presence of God and my community, to make something special that was greater than ourselves.
Wow. That's so romantic.
Is it? It's not. I didn't say I loved her. I mean, it wasn't because I fell in love. I mean, I do, but it wasn't because I fell in love with her. It wasn't because of the chemicals or the lust or even any of that stuff. And I know that together she and I can build something even better. And so that's why I wanted to propose. And I did. And I waited until we were in Miami, in one of my favorite places in Miami. We did all of our favorite stuff in Miami that day. We went out to one of our favorite places to eat, and then we went out like to this club that we like, and then we were back at the hotel that we love, in the pool that and it was right there in our scene where we had like gone and traveled like 5 or 6 times before that. And so it was very meaningful to us. And we just signed the contract for the venue and set the date, and we're getting married next fall. Can't wait.
Aww.
Yeah.
Masks
Who's Frank?
required.
Get Frank on it.
Frank's my boyfriend.
Come on, Frank.
Oh boy. Was she surprised?
Well, probably, because I had been telling her I was going to do it for a while.
And so she had lost hope. That's the perfect way to do it. Get your woman to the place where she is hopeless and has given up, and then surprise.
Well, in some ways, maybe, but not.
Yeah.
Don't do that on purpose. What sealed the deal for me really was I asked her to quit her job. And
ooh, that's pretty romantic.
And to manage the house and manage my schedule and my shit. And she said, all right, I'm doing it. And so when she made the step of leaving her career to support me full time, all the time, that's when I knew that I was ready to make that commitment to her. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do that. It was just, that's how it was for me. And because when I met her, I was like, babe, I ain't never getting married again. Just FYI.
Because you had done it already once
I
before.
had done it already and it didn't work out. And of course it was because I was the wrong kind of man then for marriage at all. And I had a lot of things to work through and whatever. It just didn't work. It was just never going to work. And I've been divorced for 12 years now. So it's been a while and I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot. And I see the world much more clearly. I see my role in the world much more clearly. And when this woman has been a stepmother to my children for 7 years, she's loved them, take care of them, raised them. My youngest is 8. Like, she changed diapers and has been with this baby almost 8 or 9 years. Like, I knew I wanted.
She touched poop. Yeah.
Yeah. She touched poop. She deserves a ring. You got shit on your finger, baby. I'll put a diamond on it.
Mm-hmm. I gotta go.
Please don't take that out of context anyway.
No, of course not. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, of course, love is great, but what you're describing is what remains after the chemicals settle down and the biological stuff calms down. And I have so many guy friends that are comedians, and they just can't see. They always seem to lose interest after a year and a half, 2 years. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly when like the chemicals kind of wane, and then what you have to do is the work of building a real partnership.
Right. So there's 2 kinds of love. Well, there's many kinds maybe, but I can identify 2. There's your passionate love that happens when you first meet and the smell, and all you can think about is
smell right there, and you're like,
all you can think about is just getting up in there and be in there and grab and like eat it all up and just devour it and have it and possess it and be up in it and all that. It's like the only thing you can fucking think about. Your friends are like, yo, where you been? I'm like, dude, we've been making dinner and fucking. that when that happens, that's a certain special kind of thing. But that wanes, man. That is your body chemically trying to get you to reproduce. Okay. But that wanes. And then what's building though is companionate love. And that builds more slowly over time. And that takes going through multiple family Christmases.
That you have to every season twice.
Yes, at least twice or 3 times or even 4 times
during winter. Right, like
exactly.
You gotta know that.
Does she have sweaters and boots? Like, come on, we have to figure these things out. So you have to go through the seasons. You have to go through the trials and tribulations, and then you begin to build an affection, a fondness, a love that is built on the history that you have. That is built on your experiences and your shared experiences and the conflicts that you've overcome, the successes that you've had. And at the end of the day, the area under that curve of a companionate love is greater than the area under the love of a passionate love. And there's a danger point when that passionate love peaks and starts to wane a little, and that companionate love hasn't quite built itself up. That's the danger point. 1.5 to 6, 7 years, somewhere in there. And I guess this is why arranged marriages in the past were so effective, because they're just like, fuck all that passionate shit. Start building the companionate love now. If you have passionate love, great. But you guys aren't getting divorced. If you don't,
it'll wear off anyway.
Exactly. It's ephemeral. And so if your perspective is already long term, then that makes it easier. Romantic love and marriage is a new thing. That's not how we did things for the longest time.
But most people get married at that peak fun sex part, like that year and a half. That's when most people go, all right.
Dude's like, shit, all we're going to do is cook and fuck for the rest of my life. That sounds great. You're going to make meals and we're going to have sex every night and watch my favorite show. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, that's not how it lasts forever.
Yeah.
So when I tell people why am I getting married, saying that I'm in love is not the first reason. It's like the 8th reason.
You could be in love, with lots of people. You could have that like chemistry, physical excitement. Yeah.
Believe me, I have it with like 20 different girls walking down the street every single day.
And it doesn't take much. You're just like, wow, she's not wearing a mask. Wow, I can see her whole face. Woo! I'm feeling something.
Indeed, that's hilarious.
Jay says, marry the girl. Oh, this is a Bill Burr quote. Marry the girl who is with you when you're the loser sleeping on the futon. A lot of women just wait for guys crossing the finish line. Well, yeah, that's biological.
But that's an interesting observation, right? There's a lot of guys in the red pill manosphere who will say, chicks are only waiting at the finish line. It's not true, man. Girls are the ultimate like renovators, right? they can look at a man and be like, well, if he just lost 50 pounds, gained 30 IQ points, made $300,000 a year more, dressed differently, ate differently, talked differently, he would be perfect. Let's do this.
We're like sculptors. We see a big slab of rock. We're like, we just want to chip away at the man that we know is under there.
Indeed. And, it's not as exaggerated as that, but there are definitely women who see and seek out potential. And that's different than waiting, quote, at the finish line. Now, I do advise men, if you're in a very religious environment and your parents and her parents, they get married and y'all never going to get divorced, go for it at a young age, for sure. But if you're in this sort of modern secular world, I say wait until you're at least in your early 30s. Like, have your shit together, bro.
Yeah, as a guy, you have nothing to lose by waiting.
No. Have your shit together and then make a decision as to whom you're going to marry. If you're not in an environment in which divorce is not an option, right? If you're in an environment where people get abortions and have divorces, you better fucking wait until you are locked up, your career is locked up, you've got money, you've got lawyers, you've got a whole fucking plan, and you know that you're just looking to add something to your life rather than like have the woman be your whole life. And again, this is just in this modern, secular, fucked up kind of world that we live in, because I don't know that that's the best option. I do know that that's the best tactical approach today in this environment. But again, that hasn't been the way that it's been throughout all time. So
it's really unfortunate because like the courts, everything is set up to like when you do get a divorce, everything is highly favored towards the mother, the woman, like whether she's a great mother, a great person or not. And exactly, like if you make that rash decision to like get somebody pregnant or get married, you can get divorced, but more so if you get somebody pregnant, like you now spend like a big chunk of your maybe time, money now dealing with the.
If we are still streaming live, I'll keep going. Where's Chrissy? I don't know. We're talking about marriage. We're talking about relationships. Maybe she'll come back. I think she died. Maybe
you're dealing with the aftermath of the.
There we go. I'm going. I can cover.
Oh my God.
I can cover.
I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's going on. Like I have a good computer. I have a good internet cord. I have good Wi-Fi. But
you got a good cord?
I have a good cord. It plugs into the wall. Every 3 or 4 episodes, it just drops.
Hey, I was rolling with it, babe. I got it.
I restart my computer and everything. But I know a lot of guys that like they have a kid with somebody, they break apart. And it's like now that occupies so much of your time, of your money is just, you might as well just take the extra time to like really get to know the person.
Well, look, divorce is the worst thing that ever happened to me. I'll say that straight up. Okay, maybe marrying the wrong woman, fine, but we married, we had kids. Getting divorced was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's the worst thing that happened to my kids. I don't recommend it to anyone. So if you're going to get married, make sure you got your shit together first, and make sure that you're attracting a woman that is going to respect the natural power dynamic. She's not trying to compete with you. She's not trying to be the queen and you're just a fucking pauper. None of that. Make sure that she understands you're the king. She wants to help support you and grow your kingdom. And you're like, sweet, let's do this together. That's my advice.
Yeah.
Frank, absolutely. Be
a king. I just feel like so many women have overused like the king and queen terms. Like I always chuckle. I'm like, he's the king. And I don't know, because I've had so many couples show up to shows drunk. And I'm like, oh, what does your husband do for a living? He's the king. Don't talk to him. People are fun.
I'm not that drunk yet.
Nathan Klein, when I met my wife in his mid-30s, I was making just more than minimum wage. She helped me go back to school for computer programming, and now I'm making 6 fig.
Hey, good on you, buddy. But, people that point out the exceptions to rules in my Twitter mentions get blocked. So there you go. Sorry, Nathan. I mean, look, that does happen, of course. There are women that come into relationships with different emotional circumstances, different relationship histories. Maybe that woman was 10 years older than him. We don't know. We don't know the circumstances there.
Yeah.
But if you're going to make generalizations, guys, be 33, girl, be 25, guy, have your shit together, girl, be ready to build a life. That's what I'm saying. That's sort of my ideal model.
Yeah. And like, if there are, I mean, so many of my listeners are men, but if there's like 2 or 3 girls listening, you you're fed this lie in your teens and 20s that like you're confused into thinking that like finding somebody good and getting to know them is settling, and you got to hold out for this perfect guy that doesn't exist, and it's there's just so many tricks out there to waste your time, and all in the name of like freedom and I guess
Just remember that the original feminists in the 60s, Simone de Beauvoir and all of these fucking idiots, they explicitly they set out to destroy maternity, femininity, and everything that it meant to be a woman. And so all of the messaging, all of their memes in effect, all of their research and papers and policies and everything they ever advocated for has at its heart the desire to destroy what it means to be a mother and a wife. So every piece, because all of our institutions are totally captured by this ideology, every piece of information and every piece of advice you get from the institutions is designed to destroy maternity and motherhood and femininity, as well as masculinity, fatherhood, and patriarchy. It's meant to destroy all of that. They want to destroy all of that. In fact,
they want to be the daddy.
Well, no, they want the state to be the daddy.
Right. Government is the daddy.
The government's the daddy. And so everything that they do, everything that they tell you, everything was designed to destroy all of our traditional family roles and to just give you advice that leads you to begging for communism. If you listen to the institutions and the theories and everything around today, it's designed to move you to a point in which you're like, communism sounds like a good idea. Because if you're 45 and you don't have a man and you don't have any kids and you didn't do this shit, but you got your career and whatever, you're like, you know what, this is, I don't want to do this anymore. Let the state take over. Let the state take over. It's by design. So like, I sound like a nut job by saying this shit. But like, if you just read what they say the exact same thing. They say we need to destroy maternity, motherhood, paternity, patriarchy. We need to destroy the family. We need to destroy everything so that we can empower the state to offer childcare and offer education and to take care of the kids. I think nobody knows. Nobody knows. I'm going to rant for a second. I have lost family members, not to death, but I've been exiled. My mom's side of the family all grew up boomer, radical, 60s feminists, whatever. And they all believe that when I criticize feminism, I'm saying that women shouldn't have jobs. But what I'm saying is no, feminism is leading us to destroy the family and to lead us towards communism. But they can't break their fucking mind away from that. Do I believe women should have jobs in the vote? Yes. I say it like that. Yes. Yes, of course. But should we have preserved the idea of the family? Should we have preserved the idea of maternity and femininity? Yes. And that is what I critique. And that is what I rail against. And yet they have disowned me. They literally have disowned me. And it's coming up as a salient point for me in my personal life because we're literally planning the fucking guest list for the wedding.
Wow.
And I'm like, this whole side of the family, I'm like, well, they hate me. They hate me. They hate me. They hate me.
They all sit at one table. Far in the back, away from the bar. They sit by the bathroom. People who have
it's like $150 a head. I'm not gonna invite them.
Okay, no, yeah.
To sit at a table and be salty. No, fuck them. They don't get to come.
Yeah, and I think it almost seems like it's easier to sort of destroy women than it is men because like I do these like polls on my Twitter like, hey, single guys, like, have you given up on the idea of finding a woman, settling down, like starting a family? And really like a lot of them are still, for it, but it's almost like if this was planned, yeah, it would be easier to kind of make the women disillusioned, make them feel like they don't need men. just be like, you're smart, you're smarter than just reproducing, go get your degree, pay for it for the rest of your life. And I think that's why so many of these boomer women are so defensive about it, because they've spent years and so much money on these degrees and these careers that's part of their identity, because they've been convinced that should be their identity.
All these people are ego invested in their ideologies. That's the thing. That's why it's so difficult to dislodge any of this. Imagine how much cognitive dissonance there is in your brain if you have taken the vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
You have literally injected it into your body. How are you going to have enough emotional and intellectual stamina to reconsider what you did when what you did was, it's in you? It's in you. They're locked into their positions. But even before the vaccine stuff, they were locked into their positions anyway because they're ego invested. Their identities are built around it. My identity is, well, it's a varying things, but one of them is as an American that believes in liberty and freedom and all of those things. So I'm not tied to these ideologies of like destroy men, destroy women, get your vaccine, stay inside, put your mask on, whatever. I'm not tied to that. I'm tied to something else, and I'm ego invested in that. Imagine what kind of trauma I would have to go through in order to come out the other side and be like, yeah, fuck liberty. So
right.
these people on the other side, they're like, what kind of trauma would you have to put them through in order for them to come out on the other side and be like, yeah, fuck feminism and fuck this quarantine shit?
I think a lot of it is they're growing up. Maybe they see their own mothers treated poorly by their fathers. They're sort of, well, they can't get out because they don't work. They don't have their own money. They are trapped in that way. So they see their careers, their degrees as that's your ticket to being treated better, to be getting out of, bad situations, domestic abuse.
Yeah, but so
Like,
this
well,
is the same argument as saying, well, what about someone who gets raped and gets pregnant? Should they be able to get an abortion? Congratulations. We're talking about worst case scenarios, exceptions to the rule, horrible, tragic situations, and using that to shape policy. No, that's the exact same mindset that's behind, 600,000 people. Sorry, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. Out of 350 million people, it's not a lot. It's the same idea that's like, look at these worst case scenarios. We have to change all society to end these worst case scenarios. No.
It's almost like, yeah. How many trans people do we really have? And should we be changing policy and institutions around such a small group of people? Not that we don't care about them. We do, but.
Well, that one has been politicized because that is the final battleground for this gender ideology. If they can actually push across the finish line that there's no such thing as even masculinity or femininity, then they have won. The transgender argument for the feminists and the CRT folks and all these fucks that have been going through our institutions since the 60s, the final boss, to put it in video game terms, level 8-4 of Super Mario Brothers. There it is. Fucking trannies. How do we get the world to accept the fact that there are no such thing as masculine and feminine people inherently? That's the final problem that they need to solve, to cross over, because once they can get widespread acceptance that there's actually nothing inherent about masculinity or femininity, then they have won in their quest to destroy motherhood and fatherhood and the family. And that is why it was politicized so much after the gay marriage thing was done, which I support. And you know what, people on the right that I'm with, they'll push back on me for that, but like, I do believe that two people can decide to enter into whatever kind of contract they want to. So go for it. If your
and lots of them are sick of this shit. I have lesbian friends that are like, yeah, I'm being bullied into being, and that I need to call myself queer. And it's like, no, I'm an old lesbian. Like, I'm not giving myself a new title.
Right. So the trans thing is the final boss. It's the final end, and that is why it needs to be fought over. The gay marriage thing was one, and I support that because I support people making their own decisions. If your church doesn't want to support it, I support that too. But this final thing is about destroying who we are as humans. And it's all in the same, it's in the same universe as zero COVID. It's in the same universe as no tyranny around the world. It's in the same universe as We're going to end evil and despotic regimes across the world. It's the same universe as we need to make Afghanistanis gay. It's all the same. It's all the same thought process. It's all part of this progressive mindset. It's all part of the feminist mindset. And feminist actually such a tough word to fight at, right? Because it's like, why do I want to fight against feminism? What? No, that sounds great. I like it. They should have called it, instead of feminism, the real word is just like, I hate families. It's I hate familyism. That's what it is. So I'm fighting against I hate familyism. I'm not fighting against womenism.
Or like I hate dadism, which that's what got me on board. I was like, yeah, my dad sucked. Like, sure, let's be angry at him for the rest of my life. Sounds good. And not have accountability. Sounds like fun.
I appreciate you being able to address that. And I'm sure that's part of your ability as a comedian to take things that are dark and to turn them into jokes and to be revealing and honest and such. Best comedy is a lot like that. I'm not a comedian, but I've watched. But there is an epidemic of shitty ass dads and shitty men. And actually, I, of all people, I can complain and critique men in America because I spend every single day trying to make better men in America. So, yeah, I see it, man. There's a bunch of pussies out there. There's a bunch of weak dudes. There's a bunch of guys with no muscles. There's a bunch of guys with no balls. There's guys that don't know how to deal with women, that don't know how to be dads, that don't know how to take responsibility. And I'm not exactly sure where that all came from. For me, it's irrelevant as to where that all came from, where the bad dad phenomenon came from, because all I'm worried about is making good dads. That's all I'm worried about now.
It's both. It's like the bad dads come from, like, my dad would have treated us kids better if he and my mother got along better. And he, I think, took out his resentment for being in that marriage with her on us, and we were closer to her. And he always worked out, he was a landscaper and then a teamster. So always a lot of long hours, resented. He was very old school, like boomer, the mindset of like, I take care of stuff outside the house. Mom takes care of stuff inside the house. And the kids just happen to be inside the house. So if we weren't, obeying or cleaning our rooms or whatever, eating all of our vegetables, like that was, of course, her fault.
I mean, look, it's easy to point to ideologies and theories and policies and shit that make people stupid and make guys suck. But the truth is at the end of the day, guys have to just say, no, the cycle ends with me. The cycle ends with me. My dad was abusive, physically, mentally, emotional, spiritually abusive. He used to beat me up, chase me down the hallway, punch me, beat me. I remember him beating me up on the bed one time, many times, different circumstances. And at age 14, I am stealing shit, sneaking out, setting fires. Like 15, sexually active. Like I am acting out like crazy. And I got punished. Everyone's like, "What's wrong with you? You're sick. You're broken. Whatever." And I internalized a lot of that. Actually, it was like I was like, "Okay, you're right. I'm doing all these bad things. Of course, I'm bad." But now that I'm an adult and I'm a dad and I have dedicated myself full time, 1,000 million billion % to being a great father for my children and loving them and supporting them and being invested in them and taking care of them and having experiences with them and being there for them. All of my kids, they're older than I just described there, and they're not doing any of that shit. They are effortlessly not criminals.
They would not be good for Antifa.
No, they're effortlessly not sexually active and looking for mommy and daddy in all the wrong places. They're effortlessly not shoplifting. They're effortlessly not arsonists. Why? Because kids don't want to be like that.
Yeah. When you're full of love, you don't look for something else to validate you.
Exactly. And that is what I'm talking about when I say break the cycle. When I say that despite all of the structural problems that have been working against men and masculinity, even women and femininity, at some point you have to just say, no, I am not going along with that. And I am going to take responsibility for my life and take responsibility for the life of my children and to change. And it takes a lot of work. I have been through therapy. I've read 1 million books. I have 25 leather-bound journals filled to the brim, stacked up behind me. I have written, I have meditated, I have prayed, I have done all the things that it takes to break the cycle. And, can everybody be like me? I don't know. I'm not a Superman, so I guess kind of maybe.
But not everyone can have a beard like that.
Well, that is very true. That is very true. I didn't even know that I could either. And then it was just there. So breaking the cycle, man, people have to you just have to do it. Sack up, dudes. Sack up. Because your failures as a father when you got teenage kids, or even younger, when you got kids at all, have long-lasting repercussions. And the time that you take to invest in your kids now will have long-term payoff.
Yes. Absolutely.
So how do we get guys to focus on that now is pretty much what my job is. Among some other things, politics and other things. But like, I see the answer to everyday problems today, all of our problems today, is stronger men. It's not the only answer, but it is like a root cause. Like if we make stronger men, well, maybe we'll get stronger women, maybe we'll get stronger families, maybe we'll get stronger kids, maybe we'll get stronger communities, maybe we'll have a stronger nation. So let's start with that. Let's start. The feminists knew that if they wanted to destroy the patriarchy and make way for communism and all that shit, that they had to destroy masculine energy because they were smart. So logically speaking, the most effective response to that is to defend masculine energy and try to enhance it in this world today. And that's what I'm doing. And drinking rosé.
Right, because what's easier, to strengthen yourself or to wait around for these institutions that have failed us to regain footing, if that ever happens?
The institutions are never coming to save us. The institutions are all corrupted. They are not just corrupted from the top. They are corrupted from the bottom up, from the roots. They are all corrupted. It was just recently in which the leadership of these institutions finally acquiesced to the grassroots corrupt demand that came up through the institution. So they are holistically captured. If you chop off the head of the CEO, a psychopathier person is going to show up in their place. A more woker zombie will show up in their place.
Like a starfish.
Any hope that you have that any hope that you Daddy, any hope that you have that the institutions are going to save you, you must extinguish it immediately. No universities, no media, no arts, no culture, no technology, no corporations, no government. None of them are going to change anything that we're talking about, and none of them are going to save you. None. Abandon them all now. Sorry.
Right. Look within for your safety, security, how to get your happiness.
Instead of institutions, what we need are networks.
Mm-hmm.
So these institutions were created to provide meaning, security, safety, happiness, education, technology, art, entertainment, whatever. But now they exist to perpetuate themselves. And in their perpetuating of themselves, they are now implementing a tyranny. Because they don't actually care about right or wrong. They only care about being in power. And it's not necessarily a personal critique of one individual person in these institutions. This is the nature of institutional organization.
They want to keep their jobs.
They want to keep their jobs. If they don't spend the money in this fiscal year, they don't get the money in that fiscal year. So they're finding ways to spend money and always be growing their programs, etc. So they exist to perpetuate themselves, and in doing so are tyrannical. A network, on the other hand, exists to serve you. So you go out and you make a bunch of connections and you establish a network of people. And if they're giving you meaning and value and security and safety and technology and education and whatever, then you maintain that network. But if it doesn't, you just fucking walk away from it. Institutions are designed to fuck you. And a network is designed to help you. It's incentivized to help you. If the network itself stops providing you utility, then you leave, and then it dies. And that is what we're facing. This is a huge fundamental transformation of society right now. Most everyday Americans who don't have the time and luxury to follow all this shit like I do and read all these things that I do and talk to all these experts like I do and to be on the ground working on this, I can understand why they don't understand. I understand why they look towards institutions that are like, please give me the light. Tell me the answer. What should I do? Where should I go? I put on a mask. Fine. I get the vax. Fine. I stay inside. Fine. I eat 11 pieces of bread every day. Fine. You know, the nutritional pyramid, right? 11 servings of grains a day, they say. But a network, on the other hand, exists to give you utility. So we're in this great transition period now. And for me, I'm probably 10 years ahead of the game on this. And that's why I'm talking to people about it, because I want them to go where the next war is going to be instead of fighting the battle from yesterday.
Build for what's coming.
Build for what's coming. Build networks, intentional networks. Reach out and find people that give you value and that you can give value to in return. Networking has never been more important today than ever. It's the most important thing that we've got. It's the way to save your life. My network, my Liminal Order network, we deliver health information, financial information, economic information, political information, building and construction and homesteading information, just plain old education, meaning, culture, art. We deliver all of this stuff, and the guys stay because it's of value to them. And it's a for-profit enterprise too. So it's totally like if they're not getting what they want, they just stop paying and they leave. We have over 700 guys now, and it's only been 2.5 years. And I'm not talking about 700 guys on a mailing list. I'm talking about 700 active members on the ground doing things. And so if you can get an environment in which the network exists to serve you and it doesn't exist otherwise, then you're going to be better off. Instead of sending your kids to school every day, hoping that the school is going to teach them what you want them to learn, you have to figure out a different way to do it. If you, instead of going to your doctor and having them just be like, everybody better get the vax, everybody better get the vax.
Yeah.
Instead of going there and going to another group of actual medical professionals and epidemiologists and respiratory specialists and physicians who are like, well, there's all these other options and it might not be right for you. You got to go to where the energy is. That's good. And right now the institutional energy is bad.
And also the institutions are as anti-network and anti-family as it gets. They don't want us gathering. They don't want us talking. We're censored. We're divided in groups. They are actively discouraging what you're talking about. Like a network is basically a family that you choose.
Yes. Oh, that's very good. That's very good. That's good marketing. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, use that for the t-shirt.
I'm going to use that. Yeah, a network is a family that you choose. Yes. An institution is a family that you've been given. Mm-hmm. And those families aren't always the best thing for you. We can see today, right now in Afghanistan, that our institutions don't give a fuck about Americans.
It's really sad.
Otherwise, they would have gotten all the Americans out of the country in the first place. They would have a different plan. They would have been handling this whole thing different. The tone and tenor of all their communications would be completely different. Strategy would be completely different. And you can see that with Corona. You can see that with CRT in your education spaces. You can see that with student loans and student debt and the university costs. You can see that in almost every domain of life. That they don't care about you. They care about perpetuating themselves and enacting their tyranny.
Absolutely. I've missed a couple of super chats. David Casada. Hey, it's that TimCast dude. Rock on.
I am that TimCast dude. I got to tell you, Chris, my kids have seen me get recognized in public so many times now that they are unfazed by it. They're like, oh.
Wow.
They're like, Dad's got to take more pictures with the fan.
They don't think like, wow, he's famous. They're not impressed?
They did at first. They couldn't believe it at first. We would just be walking around. People would stop us and take pictures. And now it's happened in multiple cities on multiple trips, multiple times where they're just like, oh, just happening again.
Wow.
So yes, I am that TimCast dude. TimCast. I have a pretty decent audience, and I'm pretty pleased by that. Tim has a fucking gargantuan audience, as big as any cable TV show, like massive,
crushing CNN.
No, literally, even I get better ratings than MSNBC and CNN a lot of times. But Tim's top out there, and in terms of the alternate media, and so being on Tim's show has been huge for me in terms of raising my profile and bringing me in touch with other people that are like-minded. and it's definitely made me a little bit more famous, if that's a word that I even want to use. I hesitate to use it because, Gen X, for me, fame is like you're on the cover of Time magazine.
Yeah, it makes you
Fame,
a little more epic, a little more
fame is
legendary.
you're on Sports Center. Fame, you're on the cover of Sports
Right.
Illustrated. You're on the front page of the Washington Post. But you know what? Washington Post, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, fuck all of them. They don't mean shit to anybody anymore. If you're up on the main page of YouTube getting 1 million views, well, that's as good as being on the front page of the Washington Post 20 years ago.
True.
And so it's just weird for me to acknowledge that, like, that whole concept of fame has just even been turned on its head. I haven't reached the level of, quote, fame. I even hate using this word, where I get haters on the street. Oh no, I take that fucking back. What am I talking about?
You've gotten haters.
Antifa came after me. They docked me. They tried to ruin my life. That was a couple of years ago. They did used to chase us around in DC at various parties with chants and protests and all that. Okay, so that happened. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Never mind. I got haters.
It is hard. It's hard to accept this, like, you're famous, because, like, I don't know. And maybe, like, the older you are, you see fame as something else. Like actors are famous,
right.
like.
Right. But no, fame just means when you go out in public, people know you and you don't know them. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty much it. Or people tell stories about you, or your name's on their lips, or whatever the case. We were at Bryce Canyon National Park in southern Utah like last week, and we were hiking around this beautiful place. I don't know if you've ever been. It's gorgeous. Everybody should go. We just got done off a hike. We're having like a little bag lunch out of the back of our car, and I saw like 8 guys getting together, and they're all getting ready and putting their backpacks on, filling up their water bottles, and my girl and I were like, she goes, who do you think's the alpha over there? This is who's one of the fun games that we play. So we were just watching their group dynamics and whatever. And as they were walking away, one of the guys was kind of near me, and I was like, what's this, bachelor party? And he goes, yeah, because there's like 8 guys in their 30s, going hiking. I was like, what? This is weird. Or is it a bachelor party? He's like, yeah, it's a
sacrifice. Yeah.
Right. He's like, yeah, it's a bachelor party. And then he was talking to me for about 10 seconds, and he's like, yeah, but and he goes, are you Jack Murphy?
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, I am, actually. I am. And now I have a script. People used to come up to me like, sir. And I'd be like, oh, fuck. My first instinct is like, I'm getting called to the principal's office. Do I need to run? Like, are we fighting? What's going on? And they're like, so are you Jack Murphy? I'm like, still. I didn't realize that people would just be coming up to me just to be nice.
Yeah, you're like braced for impact.
Yeah, so now I have a script. And I'm very good at it. I launch right into it. Hand goes out, shake your hand. Where you from? What's your name? How you doing? Want to take a picture? And it works out pretty well now. So if anybody ever sees me out there, come say hi.
Want a titty autograph?
Yeah. Well, especially. Do I have to put it on mine?
This is a really good comment from before, from Jay. When the world loses the feminine upbringing of children, it is left with nothing but power struggles without compassion and caring. And you'll see Jesse Lee Peterson, and there's also this other very well known, he's very stylish Black gentleman. He gives dating advice, and they talk about this a lot. Like, if a lot of Black women come from single mothers themselves, they sort of like perpetuate this cycle of not trusting a man. You have to become a CEO, and you become like your own masculine energy overpowers your feminine energy, and you're kind of hardened by it, and the cycle just repeats itself. It's sad.
It is. And look, when I'm talking about masculine and feminine energy, I'm not saying that the ultimate masculine male has no feminine energy. That's not true. They do. And I'm not saying that the ultimate feminine, female energy has no masculine energy. They do. It's a balance. And when you're out of whack is when you're a dude and you've got more feminine energy than masculine. But like, it's important as a man to be able to do a little healing for people. Healing is traditionally something you would think of as a feminine energy. Building is something you'd think of as a masculine energy. But like, guys, there's going to be times in your life where you have to be empathetic and where you have to be able to heal. You have to be daddy. Daddy heals sometimes. So you have to be able to heal. So I don't want people to get these sort of grotesque distortions of what it means to be masculine. It doesn't mean no emotions.
Yeah, you're not a cartoon.
No empathy, no vulnerability. No healing, of course not. First of all, any type of creative energy or leadership is vulnerable because you're putting yourself out there. You're taking a risk. Second of all, empathy is a essential life skill that not only humans have, but like fucking cows and chickens and mammals have, right? They understand empathy too. It's a pre-language skill that we have. You can just observe something and have a feeling that communicates a message to your brain that doesn't take any words. So you have to be empathetic as well too. But if you're going to focus on building something in yourself, please focus on building your creative skills, your masculine building and creative energy, your instructor energy, your protector energy, your provider energy. Because if you're deficient in anything, it's probably that. If you're deficient in empathy and vulnerability and sympathy, then you might be a psychopath. If you're a dude. I exaggerate. I'm kidding, but this is a comedy. This is a comedy show, right?
Yeah, this is a comedy show. And women a big turning point for me was realizing like that my whatever feminine strengths were not like weaknesses. We're not seen as a weaker quality, a lesser quality.
No, and that, the yin and yang thing is so played and tired, especially if you grew up in the 90s like I did. But if you really look at it, it's a beautiful thing. It's a perfect circle. It's the area is the same inside the circle, but it's not equally, like it's not just a straight line. And then there's actually a little bit of each in both. And that's actually a fantastic way of looking at it. And feminine energy is just as essential as masculine energy. That is why dudes build and protect shit. Because feminine energy is important, and we actually like it quite a bit. We actually prefer it. We love it. We love it.
Like, I like lavender. No.
So we build and protect and provide and instruct and create for the feminine. In fact, men are beasts of burden. We're men of we're service. We're service animals. I mean,
men like to be useful
in leadership. Better in leadership than in domination, but you're still doing something for somebody else. If you were single and had no kids and had no wife and were unconcerned with any of that, you would probably not work as much as you would if you were a man with a wife and kids and a family and a legacy, right?
True.
So we are motivated by our legacy, by our emotional and spiritual connections to our wife and our children. And I would not say that one is more valuable than the other, because they're both come together to make a whole. And that whole is what they want to destroy by destroying the constituent parts.
Right.
If we can come together into that whole, then the rest of the shit gets a lot easier to deal with. If you can educate your own kids, feed your own kids, protect your own kids, instruct them, guide them, nurture them, have them reach mastery without anybody else, that's dangerous to the people that want actually for the state to be the biggest thing that there is and to take over your life.
Right. And with women, like if you don't feel safe being softer, kinder, sweeter, then you're like, well, there's no one here to protect me. I have to step it up and become hard and become have the guard up all the time. Well, it's like, yes, a lot of women probably feel like they don't have the luxury of being like soft and sweet, nurturing, empathetic, because they're who is protecting them, who is, who has their back. They have to do it themselves.
When you have to protect yourself, all those traits become liabilities. What you need then when you have to protect yourself, when you're, on your own with no man and no kids and out there in the world, you need to have a sharp sword. You're not in the business of nurturing. You're in the business of self-preservation. And that is a really useful distinction. I think we benefit when men are concerned with self-preservation of the family and women are concerned with the nurturing of the family. I think that we benefit from that. I really do.
This is from Matthew Hammond. Is this what failed Trump? Is that he thought the institutions were salvageable? The founders seemed to understand that this could happen.
The founders were very wise. And if they saw everything that was happening today, they would be appalled. I am sure of it. Trump was blinded by his boomer patriotism. He thought that if he hired the generals that would work. And if he hired the best corporate guys, that would work. And if he hired people that he thought were heroes, that it would work. His patriotism blinded him. He adhered to all the rules despite whatever the Democrats will tell you. He honored every fucking court decision, played by all the rules, and in fact knew so little of Washington that he didn't know where the boundaries were, so he didn't even know how to go over the line.
Wow.
Trump
That's pretty. Yeah, it's a good description of it.
Trump came to town to play within the rules. And because of that, he failed. There is no way to win this game by playing their rules. Even Joe Biden knows. Joe Biden just announced the other day that this eviction moratorium handed down by the fucking CDC. What does the CDC got to say about my rental contract with my tenant? He knows and said, this is not constitutional, but I'm going to do it anyway because they're going to take them some time to overturn it. Trump never did anything like that. Trump was idealistic, even as though he was someone sent there to destroy the system. He went there to work within it. And I think that the lesson learned from Trump is going to be that you better figure out where the boundaries are so that you know how and when and to strategically cross them to get accomplished what must be done in order to preserve the Constitution and to preserve the Union. Abraham Lincoln, he violated, he suspended habeas corpus and some other things. He laid the conditions to go beyond what was allowed in order to save the country. Do we need another statesman like that? We're gonna need a real statesman. Biden, not a statesman. Trump, not a statesman. The Bushes, not statesmen. Pawns, tools. Clinton, whatever.
Did you see that picture of her on the beach?
Oh my God.
Clinton's walking down the beach.
They looked horrible. They looked horrible. Super Truther, thanks for the super chat. We live by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Great talk, you two. Oh, thanks, Super Truther. Look, the Bible has a lot of wisdom in it. And the founders knew that the nation and the government that they designed required citizens who were more of high moral standing, high virtue, virtuous, and religious. It is in their writings. It is in the state constitutions that were designed and developed at the time of the revolution. So it's not just our federal, it's all the different states. It's echoed in all of the literature. They all knew that our government required a moral and virtuous and religious people. We do not have a moral, religious, and virtuous people. We do not have people that are united by blood and history and language and culture and myth and tradition. So all of the essential building blocks, the matter that they were going to form into this country is all changed. And I believe it was Alexander Hamilton who said that the government must be suited to the people like a coat to the individual. And that the constitutional republic they designed was basically custom tailored fit for the American people. Well, the American people are no longer the same American people that coat was fitted to. We are no longer a moral, religious, virtuous society. We are no longer a society bound by language, culture, custom, mythology, tradition, and heroes and myths. Those conditions do not exist. So the constitutional republic that we have right now is misapplied. I'm not saying burn down the Constitution. I'm not saying ship out everybody that's here. All I'm saying is like there is a fundamental conflict that is different from the founder's vision. And when I'm referencing the founder's vision, I'm referencing their intent. It's not that what they decided at the time was the only way that you can do things, but what they decided at the time, they memorialized and put into this Constitution. And so their intent around the Constitution is very important because they know what the necessary conditions were to make the Constitution work. And if you read the Federalist Papers, which are an argument in support of the Constitution as proposed, you can see all of their thought process and all the rationale that went into designing the Constitution. And when you come to accept the fact that it was designed for a moral, virtuous, and religious society that is bound together by blood and history and tradition and myth and language and culture, and then you understand that we're not any of those things now, well, then you got to wonder, like, what are we doing? We're operating with false assumptions. We're doing the wrong thing. We're driving this whole fucking thing off a cliff.
Right. Without the shared values, also corruption can get its grubby little hands in.
Dirty fingernails.
Dirty little hands.
At me. Put your hand in my back pocket.
One more super chat from J.A. Absolutely agree, Jack. I was talking more of the loss of children being raised in a family rather than daycare, pre-K schools, etc.
Yeah, look, I have such sympathy for people who live in a circumstance in which both the mother and the father have to work in order to make ends meet. But I would challenge most of you upper middle class fucks out there. Your wife is working so that you can take fancy vacations and buy fancy bags and drive a fucking Mercedes instead of a Honda. Okay? That's why she's working. She's not working to sustain you. So just reconsider your options, reconsider your choices. Why are you really working two incomes? Is a luxury lifestyle worth having somebody else raise your kids?
Ooh, yeah. I know I have too many shoes.
Carrie Bradshaw.
Oh my God. Yeah. Jack, you're such a delight. I adore you so much. You're so great to talk to.
Happy to be here, Chrissy. Thank you.
Thanks for being my internet daddy. Where can people find you, follow you, join
Please
the
follow
Liminal
me
Order?
on Twitter at Jack Murphy Live. Sub to the YouTube channel, Jack Murphy Live. Follow me on Instagram, Jack Murphy Live. And come to the Liminal Order. If you are a dude with balls, age 25 to 55 or so, and you believe in freedom and you believe in brotherhood, masculinity, and sovereignty, come down to the Liminal Order, liminal-order.com. We're taking 50 new members in the first week of September. That's it, 50.
Ooh, so get in there. Bring your dick and balls and sign up. Jack, this was great. Adore you. Thank you so much, chat. Thank you for the super chats. Thanks for all your intelligent comments. Appreciate you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Chrissy. Bye, everybody.